Longworth, and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you once again from our home away from home, the Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about them later on, and later on is when the roundtable shows up. We'll get into all sorts of controversy, so stay tuned for that. But great guests, important information coming through the entire half hour, talking about everything, including getting ready for hurricane season and much more. But where we want to start is talking about aviation and a brand new program that has to do with that. On my right is a special guest that's been with us before. We're always glad when she can spare a few minutes for us. Dr. Janet Spriggs, President for Site Tech. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. Good to be here.
And Janet, you brought along a special guest, Greg Purvis, coordinator of what's I'm going to call the new aviation program. Good to see you.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for doing it. Janet, let me start with you. What was the impetus behind starting an aviation program?
Well, you know, at Forsyth Tech and at all community colleges, our biggest job is to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the industries in our communities that we serve. And in Winston-Salem and Stokes County and the greater Piedmont Triad region, aviation is an important part of the industry. So it was important for us to be providing that skilled workforce for the businesses and industries that need aviation workers.
Now, I'm not a very smart person some days, but even I know that because I've been to your campus and office and whatever, I know you can't park a bunch of planes right there in front of your office. So now where is this program going to be offered?
It's located at the Z. Smith Reynolds Airport, so we were very pleased to be able to partner with our county commission, and we have leased space there for a new building that is paid for with county bond debt. It's about 53,000 square feet of dedicated aviation training facility.
I think that's great. Greg, let me turn to you. What types of things will your aviation students learn?
Well, they'll come out with two certificates. One of them is their airframe license, and the other is their paraplant license. And with that, with the airframe size, they can work on anything on the airframe itself. And so including the avionics inside. And then with the power plant section, think of the jet engine, all the way down to the reciprocating engine, like on a car, and they'll be working on that also.
Let me ask a stupid question. I'm guessing, based on what you just said, that they'll come out of your program and be sort of ready to go if one of the airlines or private airlines calls and says, hey, Greg, we need some people. They're going to be ready, right?
That is correct. One of the Forsyth Tech students that's graduated could be working for the airlines, and you could be right on that flight and look down and go, yeah, that's one of our students. Yeah. So yes, they could go right in to work with the airlines.
You know, reading about your background, you come from an aviation background, worked in the industry. Yes. It's got to be exciting for you to be heading up this program on this level when you know you came from the real deal. I mean, what's going through your head?
I feel fortunate every single day to be in aviation. But then to be part of Forsyth Tech and being part of the program and this growing and seeing it from the ground up and seeing the students that will be coming and trying to help them going to a field that I love, it's very rewarding.
Yeah. Janet, I'm going to ask you to sort of circle back from where we started, and you touched on this a little bit, but before time runs out, I'm just wondering, can you sort of summarize for us what this aviation program is going to mean for the community and for our overall economy?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, it's going to mean livable wage career opportunities for our community. Students, particularly in the East Winston district, you know, we're heavily recruiting in that district for students into this program. We have a certificate program we'll be launching next year for Carver High School students.
Wow.
To be able to earn credit in high school and move right into the program once they graduate. So it's going to be an incredible economic boost for that specific district, but also for the entire region, and again, help those employers find qualified, skilled workforce, which is critically important for all of our economies.
Yeah, so you and Greg are going to get the high school students all excited about this before they even get to that point, right?
That's exactly right.
That's just great.
Yeah.
I want to put up a website here. Now, normally we just say go to forsythtech.edu. But if you do one of those little slashes, I'm not very technically oriented, and that's pitiful considering who I'm sitting next to. But hash or slash, whatever you call it, put aviation on there. So it's forsythtech.edu/aviation, and you'll learn all about it and how to get involved. Greg, thanks for doing this, man.
Well, I sure appreciate it. Thank you.
Looking forward to your leadership. Janet, thanks for bringing him along.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having us.
All right. We'll be right back. Back now on Triad Today, and I want to spend the next few minutes on a serious topic and understanding more about Alzheimer's, and we have an expert that's going to help us through that. on my immediate right, Tiffany Ann Sheldon Morris. She's a psychologist with Novant Health Memory Care. We welcome you to the program.
Thank you.
By way of Berkeley, California, well-traveled. And most folks know about Heart Month, and they know about Breast Cancer Month, but June is Alzheimer's Awareness Month. It doesn't get much attention. Why is that?
I think, to be honest, it's because of, quite frankly, the aging perspective in this country. So if there's a lack of attention on Alzheimer's Awareness Month, that unfortunately may reflect a little bit of our national priority.
Not easy to talk about either.
Not at all. And I think what happens is culturally, our society fights against aging more than it really embraces the wisdom of the senior members of our community.
Let me ask you sort of a clinical thing. Now, you don't have to go into a lot of detail, but for folks to understand, how does someone develop Alzheimer's? Because, some people think, well, I guess it's genetic, or I guess it's this, or I guess, how does that happen?
So what happens is it can develop out of a genetic heritability, but that's not a necessarily. In other words, what we can inherit is a genetic predisposition, meaning if I have a first-degree relative that develops it, there may be an increased chance that I may develop it. But what's really important to recognize is there's so many other factors that come into play that can influence the development. Things like physical health and nutrition and activity and cognitive stimulation in older age, and even social emotional well-being, social support. All these things are also factors in addition to something like a genetic predisposition.
Well, give me an example of a misperception. What do you think is one of the misperceptions that people have about Alzheimer's?
Sure, I think it's a misperception to believe that dignity is lost with memory. I think it's a misperception to believe that if I can no longer take care of myself, then I lose quality of life. I think it's a misperception to believe that because there's no medical cure yet, that even if I develop Alzheimer's disease, there's nothing I can do to preserve quality of life. And I think it's a misperception to believe that if my brain is affected and afflicted with something like Alzheimer's disease, that I can no longer connect to joy in any way. I think those are big, big misperceptions.
What kind of, once someone has been diagnosed with this, and I've referred to this on the show before, that with many diseases, it's your disease. But with Alzheimer's, it's the family disease, isn't
Absolutely.
it? What are resources that might be available to families if they just found out?
Sure. So our local community is replete with a lot of really, really good resources. The state of North Carolina, the Department of Health and Human Services, the Aging and Adult Services Division is an umbrella under which there are lots of services directly relevant to what we're speaking about because of the gamut that it spans. So we're talking about things like day services, placement services, adult protective services when that's needed, counseling services, care partner support is absolutely critical. Sometimes it's legal services, transportation services. There's so many different kinds of services.
How can I get to all that,
that
though?
really are
Is
the
there
game
like one
changers.
website, or, I'm going to give the Novant website in a second, but are there certain websites you can go to that sort of ombudsman-like, or what?
And really, I'm glad you brought that up because ombudsman really can be key in connecting people. A lot of what we try to do at Novant Health and Memory Care specifically is targeted at connecting people on an individual level to the services that are going to best suit their family's needs.
Okay.
On a very personal manner.
Well, speaking to that, let me put this up on screen before I forget. NovantHealth.org is the general website, which gives you lots of great information. I just applaud what you're doing and what the program is doing. It's so vital, and I just appreciate it with all seriousness. Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back. And oftentimes, as you know from this show and others, we talk about higher education, going to college, and all that good stuff. But we also have a guest here with us who's been here before, and he's with an organization that helps high school students get to college. Next to me is our good friend Morshe Downing. He's Senior Director of Data and Post-Secondary Success for Say Yes Guilford. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you for having us.
What should rising high school seniors be doing this summer to get ready for next school year and even beyond?
Right. So the transition from high school to college is a very unique, transition for our students. Of course, we have our scholarship application, which just closed June the 1st. But for those students who are transitioning to college, they can be doing multiple things. They can continue to make sure that all their paperwork is complete for them to start college, and also to make sure that their FAFSA, their free application for federal student aid, is complete. Then lastly, check their emails, because that is the #1 way that colleges will communicate with our students.
I'm glad you said that, because I send emails to some people and it's like 40 years later they'll write back, but you gotta stay on it.
It's very, very important, because that is a very unique communication tool, and many times students will miss those important deadlines or benchmarks or even documents that have to be done
Right.
by missing out on those emails.
I don't know if I've ever asked you this or not, but on the scholarship itself, the Say Yes scholarship, are there any certain things, you don't have to give the whole list, but a couple of things that maybe are requirements or criteria so that somebody knows that they can even apply?
Right, so at sayyesguilford.org, we kind of outline our scholarship criteria, but students they must be continuously enrolled in Guilford County schools. We look at income, adjusted gross income, and of course we look at the tuition caps of the university they may be attending. So we have 2 scholarship models, our public university scholarship model, and then we have our private university model, which is an amalgamation of our collective partners across the country, where we have students attending more than 100 of those universities.
And speaking of partners in the broadest sense, I'm guessing that the students you're working with and advising can also take advantage of the College and Career Promise program, right?
Absolutely. That is a partnership with Guilford Technical Community College, and students are able to take those courses that will help them to either, tack on to those other courses they're going to be taking, but also to help them to kind of fast track their way from where they are now to their ultimate career goal. So we're very excited about that partnership, and we're hosting an information session very soon, so check out our YouTube page at Say Yes Guilford.
Yeah, that's something to check out, definitely. What kind of impact does Say Yes Guilford have on high school graduates, do you think, given the work you've been doing over time?
Right. Since our inception, Say Yes Guilford has provided over $28.5 million in scholarships to students from Guilford County.
Wow, and that's not counting federal grants or things that they
Right.
might get or scholarships, just the ones you're giving.
Right, just our Say Yes scholarship. So we're very excited about that. Last year alone, that equated to about $8.5 million for a little over 1,400 students. And then we translate that to our work-life earnings. Students who are graduating with a associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, those work-life earnings have accumulated to over $475 million that our
man.
scholars to date who have graduated can expect to earn in their lifetime. So that is one of the economic impacts that Say Yes Guilford is having, and it's a ripple effect throughout the communities that we serve.
Yeah, absolutely. Before time runs out, let me throw something at you that we didn't rehearse this or anything, but what gratification do you get from doing your job and working with the kids?
So one of the gratifications is, I don't just see our scholarship as transactional, I see it as transformational. And I think I may have highlighted this one moment before, was that I see Say Yes as a significant puzzle piece in the lives of our students and of our community, because we're able to see the transformation that our scholarship, our programs, our services have in the lives of students. And we get countless phone calls of parents and students thanking us for the supports and the programs that we have. And to see the smile on their faces and to hear them, their excitement, it is warming, and yet it's transformational. So good job to our team, and we're glad to have a phenomenal leader as well at the helm of Say Yes Guilford.
Yeah, Wendy Poteet doing a great job there too. Well, thanks for all you do. I appreciate it,
Thank you,
Warshay.
Jim. Thank you.
Up on screen, let's put this up here. SayYesGuilford.org is the website. SayYesGuilford.org. Please check that out. Warshay, thanks again.
Thank you, Jim.
We'll be right back. Today I have 2 questions for all the folks watching. Number 1, you doing anything to prepare for the hurricane season? Number 2, what do you think Duke Energy's doing to prepare for the hurricane season? I just happen to have a man here, and we're going to get to that in just a second. Next to me, our good buddy Jimmy Flythe, Director of West Region Government and Community Relations for Duke Energy. Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, glad to be here.
Recently, and we're at the Botanical Garden, as everybody knows, for a while, and recently, I think it was a couple weeks ago, we saw some Duke Energy crews working diligently out there.
Sure.
They were doing it all over the Triad. People say, hey, what are they doing? What are they doing? And it comes back to me and says, well, they're doing some improvements. Now, what kind of improvements?
Sure. Well, thanks. Yeah. Hurricane season last year, I think was a record number of hurricanes that we had. And this year, meteorologists predicting another pretty severe and a lot of storms. So we're doing a lot of grid improvement projects. So right here in Kernersville, I know I've gotten some calls and complaints about traffic, and fortunately, folks will just kind of bear with us. It'll be worth it in the end. But we're replacing poles and upgrading poles, putting bigger poles in, replacing cross arms, putting in new, larger wire and conductor, just things that'll make the system more resilient to outages, and then also help us to recover faster.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe, even if an outage does occur with all the improvements, the way those improvements go in, you're saying we're going to get back online quicker?
Yeah. If you think about back in January, we had Frankie Batten here, and Frankie talked a little bit about self-healing technology, and that's something that's fairly new, but we're kind of going whole hog on that right now, and got a lot of locations where we're installing that self-healing technology.
Now, what do you mean? You're talking over my head. I told Frankie that day, he's talking over my head. Self-healing circuits, what do you mean?
Yeah, so the systems design, the technology has come along and just improved with the internet and access to getting information, feedback from the system. Before, we didn't have that access. So now the system can automatically detect where there's an outage, and you've got protective devices that can isolate that damaged portion of the circuit and reroute. Just like if you're driving in your car and you've got your Google Maps app on or whatever, and it tells you, there's traffic up here, reroute. And so this system kind of works automatically, and it's instant, not quite instantaneous. You'll see a blink in your power, but it prevents customers from having a prolonged outage. And we expect probably in the next several years, almost all customers in the Carolinas will benefit from this technology.
But certainly, but we've made a pretty good start with the Piedmont and Triad region. That's pretty well got that system going.
Yeah, it's up and going really well. I mean, across the Carolinas in 2020, the records that we have, we saved more than 300,000 outage events, prolonged outages because of this technology, and probably 1 million hours of outage time for customers.
Yeah, not just because you're here and complimenting you, but I noticed last year, even with all the bad stuff going on with the pandemic and everything, I didn't see as many outages as we used to have. Let me get to this. Talking about hurricane season, what can just us regular folk do to get ready for hurricane season?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're investing a lot of money trying to upgrade the system and make it stronger, but still, Mother Nature, you see some of the events from hurricanes and tornadoes, we're going to have some prolonged outages in the system. So, customers need to prepare, need to think about, having water, especially folks on well water. If your power's out, your well's not going to work. So having water, food, I think here in the Triad, they say typically we need to plan for being able to be on our own for about 3 days before you can have assistance.
Right.
So if you've got loved
my wife
ones,
told me the other day to plan to be on my own, and I don't know what that meant. But all right, so 3 days of food, like canned food, are things you can eat that maybe won't spoil and seriously be ready for that. Yeah, I didn't think about that, having the bottled water, because again, we don't want the outages to occur.
No.
But you got to be ready, flashlights and all that stuff.
Charging your batteries for your cell phones, having additional backup batteries for your phones. I know my kids use their phones like crazy, and they sometimes just on a normal day run out of battery power, so they've got lots of backup batteries.
I want to put a couple things up here. Duke-energy.com is the main website, but I want you to give me 10 seconds to remind us what this other website is about, generatingprogress.com. We've got that on screen, generatingprogress.com. Very quickly, what is that again?
Sure, and that's the place where folks can go and learn more about things like we're doing with the self-healing technology, some human interest type stories and things that we're doing, investments in our community, investments in economic development. So just a little bit different than products and services.
Jimmy, thanks for making the improvements. Thanks for dropping by.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Now on Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable. A couple shout outs. One to the good folks at the Senior Botanical Garden. Hope you'll check out their website and the garden. Come out here, have your weddings, receptions, luncheons. It's a great place. Also another shout out, and a special one, to my wife Pam Cook, who has her own business, Pam Cook Communications, does such good work for foundations, helping them with their message and their mission. And because of all her good work, she was the guest recently of Gary York and his program, and it's called Doing Good, People Doing Good for Others. You can check it out on YouTube. Just type in River Street Productions. So congratulations to her. Now, three other guys that I'm very proud of. On my right, O. Gilman, the great broadcaster and journalist. Dave Plyler, who I've known for 140 years and is now chairman of the Forsyth County Commissioners. And Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. Guys, here's one that kind of disturbs me. Last week, 7 students and 1 parent infiltrated Southern Guilford High School and attacked another student in the middle of a class. The attack was said to have been revenge for an incident that had occurred at a bus stop earlier the previous day. Now, first of all, it bothers me that there were no arrests. I saw the mother interviewed on TV. Nobody was arrested immediately. But my question to you guys is, in order to prevent things like this from happening, and even mass shootings, we talked about this on the show, once and for all, aren't we going to try to get electronically monitored locking doors in these schools? Ogie.
Well, I'm sad they weren't arrested. That's terrible. You know, it's sad that we've come to this point, but I'm afraid that there are ways now to monitor, you know, get a doorbell camera and have it monitored and buzz people in. I'm afraid we're at that point now, Jim,
David.
sad as it is.
David.
I think with the technology we have, if you did lock the doors from the inside, someone would find a way to unlock the doors from outside. And frankly speaking, I'm like Ogie in the area of arrests. If it happened when I was in school, these kids or whatever would be in jail right now. It should be.
And the parent, Keith.
Well, I think we don't know what happened to the kids before that, because there could have been something where they should have been in jail as well. But I think that you need to have additional security. I don't think these electronic doors is going to do it. You need additional security that is all around the school and can act accordingly.
All right, speaking of students, a Florida high school digitally added a black stripe onto yearbook photos of girls' dresses, which show the slightest bit of cleavage. And the parents are outraged at this unilateral censoring of clothing that is worn every day. Guys, the question is, and it's a general question, should a school have the right to alter photos without permission of the student or the parent? Ogie.
What century are these people living in? What a bunch of prudes.
I don't know.
That's pitiful.
Yeah.
That's pitiful.
David.
It encourages the wrong type of morality, frankly speaking.
Yeah, and putting a little stripe over a dress. Keith, what do you think?
I think it's a terrible idea, and whoever did it should be fired.
Meanwhile, the UNC system, now we're going to higher education, the UNC system has decided to extend their pandemic-era testing waiver so that high school students can be admitted to colleges without taking the SAT or the ACT. Guys, you okay with that, Ogie?
No, not at all. I mean, I assume they're talking about rising seniors. It's too late for this year's class, but the pandemic's basically going to be over by next year. No, that's not a good idea at all.
David.
I agree. We should just business as usual, should be treated that way.
Keith, those tests have been controversial anyway, pandemic or not. What do you think?
I think they're doing the right thing. I disagree with both of them. I think, number one, these SAT tests aren't accurate testing of a person's aptitude to go to college. And I think right now, while the pandemic seems to be subsiding, a lot of people have not got vaccinated, and many people in the minority community still need that. And I think it's far too soon to let up off of this, and I think it's the right decision.
And pandemic or not, we still need to take a look.
The system has to change. It has to change.
Yeah. The North Carolina legislature is considering paying a $1,500 bonus to folks who get off of unemployment and go back to work. Congressman Ted Budd says, well, maybe that should be $900 instead. But either way, guys, you okay with paying bonuses to people just to get them to go back to work?
It just seems odd to even talk about paying people to go back to work when the jobs are available. So believe it or not, I'm okay with Bud's idea. I really
Going
am.
to 900 days. Yeah. What do you think about paying bonuses to get people to go back to work?
Let's put it this way. Ever since I started working as a young man, no one gave me a bonus to go to work. No one. All these years.
Yeah.
And today there are jobs available. People are crying to hire folks. Why would you pay them to go to a job that people already just begging for you to come to work?
Keith, what do you think?
I think that there should be incentives. I think, and the reason I say that is that many people on the lower rung of society and who these jobs are available for, they've been shortchanged for a very long time. So their wages have been low, their skill set has been low. They need additional money for skill training, I would say, but not just to go back to work, but for skill training. I think that would be the appropriate result for that.
Yeah, and according to some of the recent national surveys, people that are holding out, not wanting to go back to work, think they're going to get a job that they can work at home from. And the thing is, most of the jobs that are available right now are not working home jobs. That's the dichotomy.
You can't work at McDonald's from home.
Well, that's right. Well, I can, but meanwhile, some members of Congress want to require employers to automatically enroll new employees into the company's retirement plan instead of waiting. You have to be here several years, whatever. They want it done right away. Good idea or bad idea, Ogie?
Well, I think it should not be mandatory. I think they should explain the benefits of how it would help them in the long run, but you can't force them to do it.
Dave.
I know I sound like an old guy, but the truth is, I have never seen a company when I was involved that didn't provide the entire package. On the one hand, they would provide it, but they would ask you to pay for health benefits.
Pay for health benefits or be there. Sometimes you had to be there a certain length of time to get it.
Well, it didn't make any difference. You were going to be there anyway, both of you
Right.
would. So.
Keith.
I think it's a great recruiting tool if you allow people to have benefits right away.
All right. Finally, Diane's giving us the 1 minute, or she held up some finger. I don't know what it was, which finger it was. Finally, last week, Australia's oldest living man turned to 111 years old, and he attributes his long life to eating chicken brains every day. Guys, would you eat chicken brains every day in order to live longer? Ogie.
Well, every one of these centenarians, is that what you call somebody that's over 100?
I think you just call it old. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, everybody has a different idea of
Right.
eating peanut butter or drinking wine or something.
Would you eat
So
chicken brains?
If it was like in a pill, I would.
Dave, chicken brains.
No, I'm going to have to die old and not very smart.
Keith, would you eat chicken brains to live longer?
No, I wouldn't eat chicken brains, but I want to congratulate Pam on her work. But I know some people who look like they've eaten chicken brains.
Are you calling me chicken brain?
No, I didn't say that.
I think Keith gave my wife a compliment and said I was chicken brained. All right, fortunately, and this is Keith's last show, by the way. Well, that's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. Olympic snowboarding champion Tora Bright is in hot water for posting a really weird photo. She's totally naked. She's standing on her head and she's breastfeeding her baby. That's nothing, said the upside down naked mom. Wait till you see me change his diapers. I don't know what that means, but I guess that's the next photograph. You be quiet.
That was chicken brains.
That's chicken brain. We'll see you next week.